Hello and welcome to another TLDR US video. With the Trump administration's response to the coronavirus coming under increased scrutiny, the president's commutation of Roger Stone's prison sentence and the backlash it's caused, the election is really heating up. With polls showing President Trump's approval waning, some in the Republican Party have begun to voice their opposition to their party's nominee. So in this video, we're going to take a look at those within the Republican Party who oppose Mr. Trump's re-election and why. Before we get going, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do, and I know a whole bunch of you haven't made the jump over just yet, so we would appreciate your support. Oh, and if you really want to help the channel out, then you can also back us on Patreon. For a few dollars a month, you can get all kinds of perks, from early access to some videos, including this one, behind the scenes posts, and your name at the end of videos. A link to the Patreon can be found down below. In December of 2019, a group of disaffected Republican strategists and consultants formed the Lincoln Project, a super political action committee, or super PAC, that's dedicated to defeating Donald Trump in November. In an opinion piece in the New York Times, they laid out their case for defeating Donald Trump in 2020, saying, "The 2020 general election, by every indication, will be about persuasion, with turnout expected to be at record highs. Our efforts are aimed at persuading enough disaffected conservatives, Republicans, and Republican-leading independents to swing states and districts to help ensure a victory in the Electoral College and congressional majorities that don't enable or abet Mr. Trump's violations of the Constitution, even if that means Democratic control of the Senate and an expanded Democratic majority in the House." In addition, the project's website states, "We do not undertake this task lightly, nor from ideological preference. Our many policy differences with National Democrats remain. However, the priority for all patriotic Americans must be a shared fidelity to the Constitution and a commitment to defeat those candidates who have abandoned their constitutional oaths, regardless of party. Electing Democrats who support the Constitution over Republicans who don't is a worthy effort." Those are some pretty harsh words for an incumbent president's re-election bid, especially when we consider that they're even willing to cede control of Congress to the Democrats. In fact, they've even been advertising in their bid to unseat the president, with this ad asking people who they trust with the pandemic.
It was 1988, the AIDS epidemic at its peak. When asked in a debate who he considered American heroes, Vice President Bush praised a young research doctor, Anthony Fauci.
I think of Dr. Fauci. He's a very fine research, top doctor at National Institute of Health, working hard doing something about research on this disease of AIDS.
He's an American hero, a kid from Brooklyn who grew up over his family's pharmacy. At 5'7", he was captain of his high school basketball team, a natural leader. Under 6 presidents, he's quietly worked to keep America safe. In a time when truth is under assault, he's always been straight with us.
So I can say we will see more cases and things will get worse than they are right now.
While President Trump lied.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Now Donald Trump is attacking Dr. Fauci. Why? Because Trump failed America. So he does what he always does, attack and blame.
No, I don't take responsibility at all because
So who do you trust? Donald, the dope?
then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute.
Or the doctor? To protect our families, on November 3rd, we can make Donald Trump disappear. It's not a miracle. It's democracy.
Now, we're not going to say whether they're right or wrong, but it does beg the question of why a group of his own party members would go to such lengths to guarantee Trump's defeat in November. Well, probably the most obvious reason would be that they feel the Senate was wrong in its acquittal of the president during the impeachment trial, and that he was indeed guilty of abuse of power and the obstruction of congressional investigations. But that obviously failed in the Senate. So the next logical step to rid their party of Trump would be to defeat him in the election. One factor that we do know has played a part here is the administration's arguably less than stellar response to the pandemic. And we did a video to that response, in fact. You can check it out now by clicking the link in the description, and let us know in the comments if you think that the administration's performance warrants this criticism. The criticism of Trump was only further compounded when he made the decision to commute the sentence of political consultant Roger Stone, who was convicted in November on 1 count of obstruction, 5 counts of making false statements, and 1 count of witness tampering. It's worth pointing out here that this was only a commutation, not a pardon. What's the difference? Well, a pardon is essentially excusing the crime, while a commutation leaves the conviction in place and just reduces the sentence. There doesn't seem to be any disagreement about whether President Trump has the authority to issue a commutation, as Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution grants the President wide discretionary powers on granting pardons and commutations. In fact, presidential powers are not even reviewable by Congress or the courts. However, the judge that presided over Stone's trial did request more information regarding the scope of the president's commutation of Stone's sentence and exactly which part of Stone's sentence the commutation applies, even requesting a copy of the executive order. Trump's commutation of Stone's sentence also garnered significant criticism from prominent politicians within his own party. In fact, 2012 Republican nominee and Utah Senator Mitt Romney was among them, tweeting about his dissatisfaction with the president's decision, saying, "Unprecedented historic corruption. An American president commutes the sentence of a person convicted by a jury of lying to shield that very president." Now, to be fair, this isn't the first time that Romney's been publicly critical of Trump. If you followed the channel for a while, or even watched the news, you'll remember that Romney was the lone Republican to convict the president in his failed impeachment trial back in February. Romney has been among several other GOP leaders, including President George W. Bush and former Secretary of State Colin Powell, who've said that they won't vote for Trump in the upcoming election. So, needless to say, there's a significant resistance movement within the Republican Party to President Trump. However, an opinion piece in the Washington Post made the point that these never-Trump Republicans are, as they put it, Democrats in Republican clothing. They pointed out the fact that nearly all Republican voters both approve of Trump's performance and opposed impeachment doesn't seem to matter to those who claim to represent true Republican values. Now, to be fair, while Trump does enjoy a 91% approval rating within Republicans, his support from independent voters has been declining, with the same Gallup poll showing a 6% drop from early June. Now, how will all of this affect President Trump's re-election bid? Well, we're not going to try and make any predictions, but given that there wasn't a significant primary challenge to the president, it might not have much effect. As we pointed out in one of our most recent episodes in the series State of the Election, both of the one-term presidents in the 20th century had significant primary challenges. And that's significant because a primary challenge from within your own party suggests a divided party, or at least a clash over how the party should be run and the personalities running it. So the fact that there was no significant challenge could show that Republicans are still backing Trump. So we'll have to wait and see if the Lincoln Project and its supporters from within the Republican Party manage to sway voters in Joe Biden's direction. What do you think? Are those working for the Lincoln Project just Democrats in Republican clothing, or do they have a point? Also, should the president have commuted Roger Stone's sentence? Should it have been a full pardon, or should he not have got involved and let Stone serve his full sentence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Oh, and also, if you didn't already know, we have two other major channels, TLDR UK and TLDR EU, and both channels have videos you might be interested in. TLDR EU recently posted a video about the EU's decision to block US tourists, as well as a video about the failed US-EU trade deal, TTIP. Over on TLDR UK, we posted a video about the potential for a trade deal between the UK and US after Brexit, and the issues that such a deal could bring with them. Both videos can be found linked down below. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we post. If you want to find more from us across all social networks, simply search for TLDR News. And a special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name listed at the end of the videos, then be sure to back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description.